First of all, I'd like to compliment Michael McGrath on bringing forward this issue on this private member's motion to the Dáil and to have it discussed, because it is one of the major issues. I think there isn't a public representative in this House that isn't coming across in their constituencies, in their clinics, the difficulties in relation to mortgages. And, you know, I suppose one of the major outgoings of any family is the mortgage. And they are looking at the rip-off that they are experiencing at the hands of the bank, particularly on the variable mortgages. And nothing has been done in relation to it. Nobody has taken a lead in relation to it at government side and taken grips to it, because it needs to be addressed. And a lot of the, and I must say, nearly all of the cases that I have in terms of pressurising from the bank and in terms of home repossession, they're all on the variable interest rate. And I think that the banks have been grossly unfair in relation to how they are dealing with homeowners. And I'm dealing absolutely and completely with homeowners that are just on that side of it. We could go into debt on businesses, on investments, and on farms and everything else, but just dealing with the banks in relation to mortgage arrears, in relation to interest that was accrued, the amount of money that is being piled on interest rates. And when we go into the banks with real negotiations and go through the figures and fill out the forms and get the income and the outgoings and try and come to some kind of an arrangement, whether it is, you know, extending the loan or some other initiative or arrangement, the intransigence in some of the banks. And, you know, I've been negotiating with one particular family over nearly 3 years at this stage, and it's only within the last couple of weeks, after highlighting it at every level that I can within the bank, that we have got some traction in relation to it. And I have to say that there is no serious intent, you know, to provide. We all get this notion and line from the bank that the last thing they want to do is to repossess houses. In my opinion, they are going bald-headed for houses, family houses, people that have only one property, and because of no reason of their own, because of maybe a loss of a job or maybe illness within the family, that they're finding it extremely difficult to make the mortgages and make the mortgage repayment. And they have to decide whether it's a family commitment, whether it is for one of their children or whatever, which is the issue that has to be paid first, whether it is the mortgage or whether it is maybe a bill in relation to medical expenses. And they are real challenging issues that people have to make. And I think that it is grossly unfair of the bank, and I think that it is high time that the government hauled them in and said, right, there's an issue here in relation to the variable mortgages. It is fine to see the banks coming out and saying that they have returned to profitability. They're returning to profitability on the backs of these homeowners. But I want to deal specifically with the people that are in difficulty. And my colleague Niall Collins mentioned it in relation to the insolvency. In my opinion, it isn't worth a hat of crabs. To be simple and straightforward about it, the legislation that's there at the moment, for the people that I am dealing with, the difficulties that they have, it is simply not worth a hat of crabs. And I think that what we need to do is we need to be very straight with each other at government level and around this House. The legislation that's there at the moment is giving no protection to the people that have one property, that's the family home, and that it can be managed over a period of years or a period of time. But they have to make sure that the banks step up to the plate, because there are families in this country that are going through hoops left, right and centre. They have cut back on every possible expenditure. I fill the forms with them myself in terms of putting cases to the banks, and it is the same line that comes back from the banks time in and time out. And I think that we have to be very straight with ourselves. What is there at the moment, the machinery that's there at the moment, is not working, and we have to challenge it in a major way. Also, I have seen in terms of the variable interest rate, and I've seen on the business side of it, just one brief moment in the few minutes that are available to me, banks that have, families that have had to restructure loans for a whole variety of reasons, and maybe have had an excellent interest rate over the last number of years, and have been massive customers of a particular bank, and the bank disregarding it absolutely and totally. They are people that have performing loans, that have been working very hard to make sure that their commitments are honoured, and the banks disregard the track record that they have, and they disregard that the goodwill that should have been built up at the banks, and it paid no heed at all to them. But tonight we're dealing with the variable interest rates and the way the banks are treating homeowners, and in particular the homeowners that are under difficulty, that are being challenged and are being threatened with repossession. The machinery of state is not working and it's failing them, and it's high time the government and this House took initiatives to make sure that the basic principle of retaining the family home for those people was enshrined and was one of the most important issues for us going forward.
Thank you, Deputy.